Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Exterminator and thank you so much for joining me for this quick video. We are honestly just hours away from Space Age at this point by the time this video comes out, and I know it's really exciting and everyone is very anxious to play it. And with that, I wanted to hopefully help you out here by giving you a few tips that should just make you a little more aware and help you prepare a bit better for your journey through Space Age. And these are just things that I wish I knew and would have definitely made my gameplay a lot better had I known these beforehand. So also it's worth noting these are like pretty spoiler free, so I wouldn't really worry about that. And we're going to start off with the first one here is check your hotkeys and rebind them as necessary. With Space Age, the devs changed quite a few hotkeys and bindings for certain actions. For example, switching weapons and shooting specific targets that you're mousing over, and opening the map are some off the top of my head I can think of that were changed, and I was really not prepared for these, and it actually kind of caused me to have a few very close calls where I almost died in combat because I was not aware of these changes. So definitely just check your hotkeys in your controls. You can very quickly just go into settings and controls, and you can even search here, so you can do like shoot enemy or shoot selected. So I've changed it back to C, which is what probably most of us are used to. It was changed to like shift space or something. But just double check this type of stuff and make sure that it's actually what you want it to be, so you aren't caught off guard by that. Tip 2 is with enemy settings and dealing with the enemies specifically on novice. So if you want an experience that is like what you would get if you turned off biters, but you still want to be able to complete Space Age and experience all of the things it has to offer, there is a specific setting for this in your map setup that you want to make sure to turn on, and this sets it so that enemy spawners still exist in your game, but they do not spawn units. And this is very important, and this is different than turning enemies off completely, because if you turn enemies off completely, they don't exist. They are not in the game at all, not even the spawners, as you know if you've done this. However, this new setting makes it so the spawners persist within the game, and this applies for like Gleba enemies too. And you need these to actually do certain things with Space Age, but they will never actually spawn enemy units. So you can kind of get that same experience, but still progress through the game as you as you would need to with enemies on. And then with that, it's worth noting that the biters, specifically the enemies on novice, biters and spitters and their spawners, have been buffed, and a few combat things have been nerfed. So one huge nerf is personal laser defenses. They have been significantly nerfed, I think by like 60% or more. So it's just worth noting that if you use a lot of PLDs and go to do combat, that it may be weaker than you're expecting. Additionally, biters and spawners have gained some extra resistances, particularly to do with lasers and I believe electric damage as well, maybe physical damage. But one of the biggest things is that the spawner and worm health changes and increases with evolution. So as the enemy evolution goes up, they actually get more health. And this is just really important to know. It may make you want to be a little more mindful of how quickly you're increasing evolution, because this is going to directly affect how hard it is for you to actually clear out bases. Third tip is automate everything that you could possibly need and over prepare. And this may seem really intuitive, like duh, Exterm, it's Factorio, of course you want to automate everything, but it is so extremely important in Space Age and when traveling to other planets and on space platforms to make sure that all of your planets have everything they need to be sustained and build with automated. Because here's the problem. If you get on a space platform and you go to another planet, you can't leave there until you build a rocket silo on that planet to get yourself back onto a platform. Now, you do have the remote view, which is great. This allows you to go to platforms and look at other planets and interact with them and basically build as if you were there, but you still need the materials on that planet or on that platform to do these actions. So if you forget, for example, to make assembling machines, or you forget to automate an inserter type, or you forget to automate logistic chests, which would be a huge pain, you're going to have a very hard time actually fixing things if they get broken or expanding anything when you're not there, even through remote view, because you won't have these things set up. Now, you can, of course, build some things through remote view and get things set up, but depending on what you may have forgotten, it can make things significantly more difficult. Additionally, you want to make sure that you actually bring all the essentials you would need to another planet. And to do that, it's going to be a lot easier if you automate basically everything you could possibly need to build a base. And I think some people, or at least myself, forget that or forget some things. So you may even want to create a checklist of some sort or look through your base and take note of everything that's in here, because it can be easy to get kind of lost in the essence of your base and forget, one or two little things that are actually quite crucial that you may need. Tip 4 is space platform and rocket requests. And this is something that I think is not as intuitive as it should be. And this is kind of a multi-part tip. The first one is that the rocket silo will only send things up in full stacks of what the rocket can carry. So when you mouse over an item, it shows you the stack size and it also shows you the rocket capacity. So let's say, for example, I'm requesting something on a space platform. I'm going to request, say, 10 belt. Well, it will put in that request, but it's going to do that in like entire stack sets. So it's going to put in a request for 100 belt and it's going to send up 100 belt. And this is just important to note because it doesn't really say that anywhere. And, you may be wondering, like, why is it sending so much, or why have I not gotten this yet? And it might be because you don't have a full stack in here yet. So another important thing, which is very similar to that, but also has caught me off guard actually a couple times, is the fact that the silo will not even request any items for space unless you have the full quantity of those items in your network that will fit in a silo. And I know that was a bit of word spaghetti, but to give you an example, let's say I'm requesting 100 circuits on my platform, or we can even request 200 circuits. Let's just do that because that's the default stack size. You'll notice that the minimum payload for a rocket is 2,000. Now here's something interesting. It is putting in this request from the platform, or trying to, but back on planet, neither of my silos, well, this one wouldn't do it anyway, but if we turn it on, neither of these silos are requesting circuits. And this can be really confusing because you're thinking, why is nothing happening when I'm putting in this request? And I do have circuits in my network. You'll see I have 200. But it will not even put in this request in the silo unless you have the full 2,000, which is what this sends up in. Okay, so that is just really easy to get caught off guard by and forget, at least for me, I've forgotten multiple times, that you need to make sure you buffer in your network at least a rocket's worth of every item you would want to be sending to space. Otherwise, it's just never going to actually put in the request for it. It's just not really said anywhere that that's the way it works, and myself and multiple other people have been caught off guard. And the next one, the last one, tip 5. Again, this is going to seem super basic, but I really cannot encourage you enough to take advantage of the Factoriopedia. This is an absolute gold mine of information and such a convenient resource. This is basically having the Factorio wiki inside the game. There's tips and tricks, which is one thing, but this is even better than that. So you can either open it up here, or if you Alt left click by default on basically anything, even just like icons in assemblers or machines, it will open this inside the PDF. So for example, let's just do something that we maybe wouldn't know about, like thrusters for space platforms and how to get their fuel. If you just Alt click on a thruster, it pulls up this menu and it will show you essentially every single thing you need to know, which includes the fuel it takes, how much, and then you can click on things within here. So we can click on fuel itself and actually see how we get this fuel. If we just go in and look at belts, for example, you can see everything it's made in, what it's used in, the research you get it from, more information. You can do this with enemies and different tiles and basically every single thing you could think of in the game. And it's incredibly, incredibly helpful. So if you ever get stuck in looking at recipes or wondering, like, how do I get this or how do I unlock this? Here's a bonus tip for you. And again, this may seem really obvious, but don't do what I did. And make sure you build ammo on your space platforms that are moving. Absolutely do not just request ammo from a planet and hope that that's going to be enough to get you to where you need to go. I highly, highly recommend you produce ammo for the platform on the platform so it consistently has a source of ammunition and is not purely relying on being sent it from planets. I know you may be in a rush. I usually am in a rush to get to new planets because I'm really excited and I don't want to bother making ammo, but it is absolutely worth setting up a system to do so on your platform. And that's it. I hope some of this was helpful for you at least, and just gives you a little, warning ahead of time, or allows you to mentally prepare ahead of time of things that you should maybe just check or keep in mind when you hop in. And I think it will hopefully just make your gameplay smoother and maybe more enjoyable and less confusing. But if you did find any of these helpful, definitely let me know in the comments. If there's anything else you have questions about beforehand, definitely let me know down there too, and I will be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. And if you did find something helpful and enjoyed, a like is very much appreciated. And if you are new and not already subscribed, feel free to keep up with all future Space Age content, of which there will be a ton. But until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.